2023 Toyota GR Corolla Circuit Edition First Test, Unnecessary Upgrade?
Sipping on my lean and I'm with my fucking team. Sipping on my lean and I'm with my fucking team. I said I'm sipping.
When you can build a base model with the same performance, the special edition is just for bragging rights. Have we mentioned we like the 2023 Toyota GR Corolla? Because we really like the GR Corolla. Truth be told, though, the plain Jane, entry-level core model suits us just fine. So where does that leave the one-year-only Circuit Edition tested here? To catch you up, the Circuit Edition is the first of many special versions of the GR Corolla. It'll only be available the first model year and is, effectively, a base core model with all the optional performance parts and upgrade features standard, plus a carbon fiber roof, hood vents, a big wing, and a special shift knob. It shouldn't come as a shock, then, that the Circuit Edition performs almost exactly the same as a loaded GR Corolla core. Mechanically, they're identical, meaning both have a 300 horsepower turbocharged inline-3 with 273 pounds-to-foot of torque, 6-speed manual transmission, driver-adjustable torque-splitting center differential, limited slip front and rear differentials, and Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires. The only meaningful mechanical difference we could find is a strange weight discrepancy. See, the Circuit Edition ought to be the exact same weight as the core. Toyota says the carbon fiber roof saves ounces of weight. The Circuit Edition we weighed rang in at 3,261 pounds, just slightly lighter than Toyota's official estimate of 3,285 pounds, but a full 107 pounds heavier than the last core model we weighed, just 3,145 pounds. The weight balance was also different. The lighter core registered a 60-40 front/rear weight balance while the heavier Circuit showed 58-42. Toyota did not have an explanation for these differences, though it likely comes down to the fact both cars were pre-production prototypes. Not that any of these weight issues made any real difference in performance. Both the core and Circuit hit 60 miles per hour from a start in 5.4 seconds on their way to a 13.7-second quarter mile. The lighter core was traveling slightly quicker at 101.2 miles per hour versus 100.1 miles per hour for the Circuit. The weight discrepancy did show up elsewhere in testing, though it's an interesting case. All the differences are small enough to potentially be within the margin of error but could also be explained by the difference in weight balance. For example, the Circuit stopped from 60 miles per hour 2 feet shorter, 108 to 110. Same tires, heavier car. Could just be differences in the surface from day to day, or it could be the Circuit's slightly smaller front weight bias allowing the rear brakes to be more effective. Then there's handling. Here, again, the heavier Circuit pulled slightly higher lateral G on the skid pad at 0.96 grams to the core's 0.94. It also posted a slightly faster figure-8 lap time of 24.9 seconds at 0.74 average G to the core's 25.0 second lap at 0.75 average G. Just day-to-day variances, a more broken-in car, or the result of better weight distribution? It's hard to say. There's another factor to consider. Toyota fans will have noticed our Circuit Edition is missing its big rear wing. It and the special shift knob bearing the signature of Morozzo, Toyota's CEO of Toyota's racing alter ego, are to be installed in the US after the car arrives from Japan but before it's sold. Those parts are still being sorted out and weren't installed on our car. Toyota says the aerodynamic effects of the wing are substantial enough to require a different front fascia on Circuit Editions to balance out, so not having the proper wing may have affected our testing slightly. Infinitesimal differences in performance aside, the overarching point here is that the Circuit Edition's upgrades don't pay for themselves where the rubber meets the road. That's a hang-up for us, because you can buy a fully loaded core for $39,445, assuming you can find a dealer who won't charge you some insane markup. The Circuit Edition, If you reserved one in time, would have set you back $43,995. Now, if the special parts on the Circuit Edition and or the bragging rights of being one of the lucky 1,000 people to nab a Circuit Edition are worth it to you, go for it. It's your money. For everyone who didn't score one before order books closed, you'll sleep soundly knowing your car is just as good and you saved about $4,500. Regardless of how much you paid or what your roof is made of, you'll get the same phenomenal driving experience. The GR Corolla is one of those rare cars that communicates its behaviors and capabilities from the first time you turn the steering wheel. The world-class chassis and suspension make it inescapably clear they'll keep the wheels on the ground no matter what bumps you hit along the way. In practice, this means you can drive the car for all it's worth from the moment you fire the engine, though we do recommend setting the stability control to its expert mode as it's too intrusive in its default setting. The grip is unimpeachable, and the power never overwhelms the chassis or the tires. This is a car that, in the hands of a good driver, can make a Lamborghini Huracan Tecnica and a Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 RS sweat on a tight and twisty mountain road. Ask us how we know. Because we did it, and our co-workers driving the supercars were blown away that they couldn't lose the Toyota. Hey, the road took away their power advantages, but there's a confidence instilled by the GR Corolla that helps. You can also choose the way you want to use the power. If you want nothing but the maximum, you'll need to keep the revs up and will often find yourself downshifting to the very top of the rev range and having to upshift again quickly. Or you can leave it in the higher gear, let the revs drop out of the power band, then floor it way sooner than you normally would exiting a corner. By the time the turbo catches up, you'll be straightening out the wheel and ready for the power.
Sipping on my lean and I'm with my fucking team. Sipping on my lean and I'm with my fucking team. I said I'm sipping on my lean and I'm with my fucking team. Sipping on my lean and I'm sipping on my lean and I'm sipping on my lean and I'm with my fucking team. Sipping on my lean and I'm with my fucking team. I said I'm sipping on my lean and I'm with my fucking team. Sipping on my lean.
In all honesty, the chassis feels like it could handle even more power. But how much more are you going to ask of a turbo 3-cylinder pumping out 187.5 horsepower per liter of displacement and 100 horsepower per cylinder? The answer is 22 more pounds-foot of torque and shorter gearing. Look forward to both if you're lucky enough to get your hands on a pricier, Morozzo edition car. It doesn't need more power, though, because you can already carry so much speed through corners. In a car this light, you don't need big power or brakes to make it do incredible things. That said, the brakes could be a bit more robust. After 3 straight days of hot laps and mountain roads, our test car's rotors were a little warped from extreme use and sending a small vibration into the car. Sturdier rotors may be in order for those who plan to drive this car to its fullest on a regular basis. We had other concerns as well. The suspension is on the firm side for street use, and there's no dialing it down, as the GRs use fixed dampers. This car is designed for performance and it makes no apologies for it, so you'll just have to deal. Some editors also found the pedal spacing too wide for heel-toe downshifting, though it wasn't a universal complaint. In fact, it was one of a few aspects of the car that came down to personal preference. Another was the adjustable front/rear torque split. While no one preferred the default 60/40 front/rear setting, some liked rear-biased 30/70 and others liked 50/50. No one could figure out why 50/50 was labeled track instead of with numbers like the other two settings, nor why the car needed a separate toggle switch to put it in sport mode for the full experience. We all sure liked the digital instrument cluster, though, particularly in sport mode. Switching the tachometer to a bar graph and smooshing the low RPM increments together on the left side while reserving the rest of the space for the high RPM increments makes it really easy to keep an eye on your revs. The engine has a narrow power band right at the top of its rev range, so that's the part you care about. If you're below that, you need to downshift. When it comes time to upshift, The talk starts blinking like a robot in an old manga cartoon, so brightly you catch it in your peripheral vision and don't actually have to look down at the talk. Just to reiterate, we really like the GR Corolla. This is the kind of affordable performance we crave, and we're thrilled Toyota built it. All we're saying is, you can get the circuit editions and performance for $4,500 less, making the bang per buck equation even more appealing.